Have you ever felt that life keeps making the same promise and then quietly breaking it? You finally let your heart open, and the person you trusted pulls away. You work hard, do everything right, and the door still closes in your face. You tell yourself, this time it will be different. But the ending feels eerily familiar. After a while, it starts to feel personal, as if life itself is singling you out. But what if these disappointments are not proof that life is against you, but proof that something inside you is asking to be seen? Carl Jung noticed a strange pattern in his patients and in himself. When a person refuses to face a certain inner truth, that truth begins to appear outside as fate. It comes as the partner who leaves, the boss who doesn't see you, the friend who suddenly vanishes. On the surface, it looks like bad luck. Underneath, it is the psyche speaking in the only language it has left: events. In his Red Book, Jung describes being torn out of his old life by a force he could not control, as if life itself shattered his certainties so that something deeper could break through. He realized that what we call disappointment is often the collapse of a fantasy we secretly worshipped. Because if you look closely, disappointment is never just about what happened. It is about what you expected it to mean. You didn't just want a message. You wanted that message to prove you are lovable. You didn't just want a job. You wanted that job to prove you are worthy, safe, finally somebody. This invisible contract, if this works out, it means I'm enough, is the real source of pain when life says no. The event is neutral, but the meaning you hung on it is what shatters. Jung wrote that the psyche lives in images, inner pictures of love, of success, of yourself. Most of these images were formed long before you were aware of them, from childhood wounds, from parents who could not see you, from moments when you felt small and powerless. Those old images now live inside your expectations. So when life does not follow the script, it feels like a fresh wound. It's not because life is cruel, but because the old wound has never actually healed. It has only been decorated with new hopes. You think you are disappointed by this person, this situation, or this year. In truth, you are meeting the same pain that has been there for a long time, finally appearing in a form you can no longer ignore. In the Red Book, Jung speaks of the God image collapsing, the inner picture of how things are supposed to be. He discovered that when this inner idol falls, the first feeling is despair and betrayal. But beneath that, slowly, comes something else: the possibility of a more real life. Because as long as you cling to the fantasy of the perfect partner who will never trigger your wounds, of the perfect path where you never fail, or of the perfect self who never feels insecure, life has to disappoint you. Not to punish you, but to wake you. Every no becomes a hand pushing you away from illusion. Every ending becomes a mirror showing you where you still abandon yourself. Here is where you still demand that the outer world fix what your inner world is afraid to touch. So if you feel that life keeps disappointing you, pause for a moment. Is life really failing you? Or is life refusing to confirm a story about yourself that was never true to begin with? The story that you are only worthy when chosen, only safe when in control, only lovable when nothing goes wrong. As long as you secretly live inside that story, life will have to keep breaking it, again and again, until you dare to ask a different question, not, why is this happening to me? But what in me is being shown here that I have not wanted to see? That is where the real turning point begins. Before we go on, I want to ask you something real. Think about the last big disappointment you went through: a breakup, a job, a friendship, a dream that didn't work out. When you look at it now with a calmer mind, what did it secretly say about how you see yourself? Did it touch an old fear of not being enough, of being forgotten, of always being second choice? Share it in the comments if you feel safe to. Your story might mirror someone else's, and simply naming it is already a step out of the pattern. There's a moment, often after the 10th or 20th disappointment, when a quiet suspicion appears. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Most people stop there and turn that thought into self-blame. But Jung would go further. Not, what's wrong with me, but what in me is trying to wake up through all of this. Because repeated disappointment is not just bad luck, it is a pattern, and every pattern serves a hidden image inside you. Think of your life as a stage where an invisible director chooses similar scenes over and over again. The unavailable partner, the boss who overlooks you, the friend who disappears when you finally need them. The actors change, the scenery changes, but the emotional ending feels the same. In Jungian language, this director is a complex, a knot of memory, emotion, and belief formed around an old wound. Maybe you grew up feeling that your needs were too much. Maybe love always came mixed with distance. Maybe success was always followed by criticism. That complex now carries a silent script. Love always slips away. I'm valuable only when I prove myself. If I relax, everything will collapse. You don't consciously choose this script, but it colors who you are drawn to, what you tolerate, and how you interpret every silence and delay. So when life presents yet another disappointment, it is not random. It is that complex pulling familiar material onto the stage, hoping that this time you will see it instead of just suffering through it. In the Red Book, Jung wrote of the spirit of the times and the spirit of the depths. The spirit of the times is the part of you that wants to fit in, succeed, be admired, and keep the storyline smooth. The spirit of the depths is the part that could not care less about appearances. It wants truth, wholeness, and soul. When your outer life follows the spirit of the times but betrays the spirit of the depths, disappointment is almost guaranteed. You choose the right partner on paper while ignoring the quiet dread in your body. You accept the good job while feeling your energy die a little more each week. You keep smiling in a friendship where you always play the healer, never the human. At first, life seems to cooperate. Things look fine. Then cracks appear. Distance, conflicts, sudden endings, and strange twists of fate. From the outside, it looks like loss. But from the inside, something else is happening. Your deeper self is refusing to support the lie. Jung observed that the psyche is self-regulating. When we move too far from our inner truth, it does not politely send an email. It rearranges reality. It lets what is false fall apart. So yes, it hurts when people leave. It hurts when efforts fail. But look carefully. How often does disappointment arrive exactly where you were abandoning yourself? You stay where you are not respected. Life removes you. You pretend to be smaller than you are. Life puts you in situations where you must speak or break. You keep asking others to decide your worth. Life sends you someone who treats you exactly as cheaply as you secretly fear you are. The pattern is brutal, but it is not meaningless. Life is not punishing you. It is refusing to confirm an identity that is too small for who you actually are. The question is no longer, why do they keep doing this to me? But where have I been repeating myself, choosing against my own soul, and then calling the consequence fate? When you begin to see that, the disappointment is still painful, but it becomes a message instead of a curse. At some point, after enough disappointments, you realize something stark. You cannot force life to keep its promises, but you can decide what you will no longer promise yourself. Up until now, every disappointment has carried a hidden deal inside it. If this works out, I'll finally feel safe, worthy, and chosen. When it collapsed, it felt like life broke that deal. But the truth is harder and cleaner. You were the one handing your worth to things that could always leave. This is where the deeper turn begins, the turn Jung called a movement toward the self. He saw that suffering softens us for a question we rarely ask when life is easy. What am I actually building my life on? On approval? On control? On the hope that someone will rescue the child inside you who was never fully seen? In the Red Book, he wrote of having to descend into his own depths, meeting figures and voices that seemed mad to the rational mind, yet carried strange wisdom. He discovered that the parts we suppress, our grief, rage, need, longing, do not disappear. They become the very places where fate grips us the hardest. So when life disappoints you, instead of rushing to the next distraction, you can do something radically different. Stay. Stay with the sting of being ignored. Stay with the emptiness after the door closes, not to drown in it, but to listen. What did I want this to prove about me? What younger part of me is crying right now? You might notice a small, scared voice. I'm always left. I'm never the first choice. If I don't succeed, I'm nothing. That voice is not the truth. It is the part of you that was formed before you had power, before you could choose. As long as you refuse to hear it, life has to keep staging situations that sound like it. The shift happens when you stop asking life to contradict that voice and start becoming the one who answers it. Instead of, why did they leave me again? You begin to ask, where did I leave myself again, just to be chosen? Instead of, why did this chance slip away? You begin to ask, at what point did I abandon my own intuition just to keep this story alive? Slowly, the disappointment turns from accusation into information. You see that some doors closed not because you were unworthy, but because you were trying to force yourself into a shape that betrayed you. You see that some people didn't stay because the version of you they were attached to was the one that kept shrinking, smiling, overgiving. Life, harsh as it seems, was defending the part of you that refused to die, your real self. When you begin to live from that self, not the anxious performer, not the pleaser, not the forever waiting child, the pattern starts to crack. You say no earlier. You stop chasing people who keep you guessing. You walk away from situations that require you to bleed just to earn crumbs of respect. And something subtle changes. Life still brings challenges, but the flavor of disappointment softens. It stops feeling like betrayal and starts feeling like correction, like being gently steered away from what you've already outgrown. Jung wrote that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. He did not say the privilege of a lifetime is to never be disappointed. Life will still say no, people will still be human, and plans will still unravel. But when your worth no longer hangs on any of it, the no longer destroys you. It simply redirects you toward what matches the truth you are finally willing to live. So ask yourself now, honestly, if all the disappointments in your life were a language, what have they been trying to tell you about how you treat yourself, about the standards you accept, and about the love you give away for free while starving inside? Write it down, even one sentence. Because the moment you stop calling it bad luck and start calling it a message, you step out of the role of victim and into the role of participant in your own destiny. And if this resonated with you, stay close. Share your reflection in the comments. Subscribe to Fractal Wisdom, and let's keep exploring the deeper psychology behind your pain, your patterns, and your awakening, until life no longer has to break you to bring you back to yourself.